Okay, come and gather around, kiddies.
Not yet.
Alright, so this is part of video number 2, and we've just done the joining of 2 pieces of wire. And now though, we've got no insulation over this piece of wire, so it's time to think about using some thermo-shrinkable tubing, rubber tubing, which is this. Now there's a trick when you use this, because if I just was to cut a piece and put it on here, I don't know when I'm going to be right at one end or close to one end or where I'm going to be. So before I start, I'm going to get my Sharpie and I'm going to make sure that I mark it and mark the wire where it's going to go to. So I cut the piece of tubing and I have a mark on one end of the wire where I'm going to shrink that tubing to. That's really important to do that. Okay, cut it, and now when I slide it over the wire, when it lines up with that red Sharpie mark that I made, that's when we know that we've got equal distance over each end. That's a trick of the trade. Right, now the heat gun, little craft gun here. Hopefully it's working. With a gun like this, it's careful. You've got to be careful. Don't be too keen like a hairdryer, like your girlfriend would do with a hairdryer, or your boyfriend. Don't just wave your hand in front to see if it's on, because the air coming out will burn your fingers. Almost it. This tubing will shrink down to about half its original size. It'll be warm afterwards, it'll be quite soft afterwards. Maybe needs a few seconds to cool down before you can sort of touch it. Now obviously this comes in many different sizes. Just to give us an idea, this black would be too big for a piece of wire this size. This yellow, although I could squeeze it over the top, is way too small. And if you try and shrink something down, even if you can squeeze it on, it's going to rip the heat shrink tubing and it won't be any good. This blue that I chose was the correct size for the job. I could have probably even gone one size smaller than that. Any questions about the heat shrink tubing? Alright, what I want you to do, I'll choose some wire, some smaller wire than what we used before. We'll do the same type of joint and then we'll be putting the yellow heat shrink tubing over the smaller wire with that new joint. Thank you.